How's it going, guys? My name is Tavarish, and today I'm driving a legend. This is the most famous and the fastest AMG in the world. So for those of you new to my channel, thank you so much for watching. Hope you guys like it, and subscribe if you like what you see. Behind me is one of the most famous cars ever made. I might be selling that up a little bit more than I need to, but this is indeed a very famous car. This is a 2004 Mercedes-Benz CL55 AMG, and you guys might know who this car belongs to. It belongs to a friend of mine. His name is Ed Bolian, and you'll know him from his VinWiki channel, which you should definitely go check out. So this is Ed's personal car, and Ed is gonna take us around this awesome AMG, but I want Ed to let us know why this AMG is so famous, so sought after.
So the Cannonball run was not just a movie from 1981 with Burt Reynolds. It was an actual event that happened in the 1970s, organized by Brock Yates from Car and Driver magazine. And it eventually evolved into some other things like the One Lap of America and the US Express, but also, even to this day, idiots like me go out and see how fast we can drive from New York to Los Angeles. And in 2013, two other guys and myself set the world record for driving across the country in this car. We drove from New York to LA, from the Red Ball parking garage in Manhattan to the Portofino Inn in Redondo Beach in 28 hours and 50 minutes.
So 28 hours and 50 minutes for how many miles?
2,811.
Okay, so that would work out to around...
It's 100.3 miles an hour moving, and we were stopped for 46 minutes for 3 fuel stops and some adding of oil. And so that was a 98 mile an hour overall average.
All right, so most people think 100 miles an hour, not that fast, but 100 miles an hour average is extremely fast, which means that at some points you might have been doing 40, and at some points you might have been doing, let's say, over 100.
You generally find over that kind of distance that, depending on what you're trying to accomplish, your average will be 30 to 40 miles an hour slower than your general cruising speed.
Okay, so your cruising speed would have been 130, 140 miles an hour, and this is definitely one of the cars that you should do it with if you were going to do it. Never do this.
We did choose the car very strategically. We wanted something that was obviously comfortable, powerful, capable, but also something that could sort of fly under the radar. We chose this color sort of deliberately. It's granite gray metallic, which kind of looks blue, kind of looks gray, kind of looks green, kind of looks silver. So the thought being that if people called the cops on us, they might say something that another observer might interpret differently. It's got the active body control suspension, which is really the Achilles heel of long-term maintenance on these AMG cars, but as it levels the car out multiple times per second, as we burn through about 400 pounds worth of fuel from the 67-gallon capacity that we had, it kind of kept everything level and handling the way we wanted it to.
Cool, so let's take a look under the hood. I want to look at the inside, I want to take it for a ride, and I definitely want to see the trunk. All right, so this is the M113K engine. It is a supercharged 5.4 liter hand-built engine. You can see who built it right there. I can't really make that out, but...
DeMuro rounded him up on one of the articles.
Oh, so, really?
Yeah. So Doug DeMuro wrote the first article about our record back in 2013, and he also did a follow-up article about why I wasn't in jail, at which point he kind of looked a little deeper into the actual car, and he found the guy's name is Marco Weisberger. I'm probably saying that wrong, but I'm now Facebook friends with him. He doesn't speak much English, but he's a real nice guy.
You know, I tried to be Facebook friends with the guy that made my Aston Martin's engine, and he never replied. So I feel like he didn't want to talk to me.
Does that mean that Mercedes is better than Aston Martin?
Yes, 100% Mercedes is better than that. At this point, it's the same thing, in the current year.
That is true.
But this makes 493 horsepower, somewhere thereabouts, and 516 foot-pounds of torque. And this is a stock engine, correct?
Correct, yeah. For the longevity, we talked to Kleeman, Rentec, Brabus, everybody about different modification packages. And, partially with the interest in raising the speed limiter. And everybody said, you know what, out of the box, this thing is perfect for what you're trying to do. And it was. Yeah,
this is, as far as power is concerned, it is very, very torquey. It's insanely, well, it's good for cruising. It's a perfect cruiser, especially at high speeds. I mean, it was built for the Autobahn.
Absolutely.
So right here you can see the ABC reservoir here. This is for the suspension. And you can see the oil. This is spelled incorrectly. Why does Mercedes spell it like that?
Oil.
Yeah. Are they from a? Are they not American company?
Yeah, they all speak English.
Okay, okay, yeah.
Everyone.
Yeah, it's weird. Mercedes, they need to fix that. But it is very, very clean. Now, this was not a car like that. This was not a salvage title car. This is actually a very well looked after but used example, correct?
Correct, but I mean, I still had really a shoestring budget. I did this, I was 28 years old, and you know, it had been a dream of mine for about 10 years. Actually, as a high school student, I interviewed Brock Yates for a research project about Cannonball and about what it would take to kind of beat the record in a modern context. And a couple years after that, we saw Alex Roy and Dave Maher set the record in the M5, and then Richard Rawlings and Dennis Collins claimed their record in the 550 Maranello. So I got to kind of see how different people were doing it, but it was still a goal of mine. And so I looked at several cars, and I actually owned two 2003 S55s in 09 and 10 that I planned to use to set the record. But when I bought the Lamborghini from the prostitute, I ended up selling the S55 that I've been daily driving. Yeah,
you guys should definitely check out that that video on his channel. He bought a Lambo from a prostitute, and it was actually, I got a little jealous of you because you got it for a steal. You got it for next to nothing, for 30 grand. So yeah, that's a really, really awesome story. So
I enjoyed driving it so much for about a year that I sold the S55, but I bought this one in 2012 for $17,500 on Craigslist. So it's about 134 new.
Okay.
So quite some depreciation there.
It's a little bit. One can say a little bit kind of abnormal for a car like this.
Yes, but it was a perfect choice, and it definitely treated us well. I put probably about 70 or 80,000 miles on these motors prior to that, and never had them burn a drop of oil.
Okay.
I know a lot of people talk about oil consumption with these, but it never been an issue with me. So I only packed 2 liters. And I think we burned about 4.5 during the trip, so it was quite low when we rolled into Redondo Beach.
So this is stock. This is bone stock from basically the firewall up, other than some radar stuff right here. But yeah, look at that. Did this have Distronic, like the radar guided cruise control?
I wanted a car without Distronic because it's very hard to completely turn Distronic off. Obviously, you can make it less sensitive.
Yeah.
But one of the S-Classes I had it, and I did not particularly care for it. So I was pleased to find one without it.
Cool. So since this is stock, what have you modified?
Mostly the fuel system and the electronics. So inside, we've got 3 radar detectors, 2 laser jammers, a police scanner, a CB radio, an ambulance traffic light changer, 3 GPS systems, mounts for 2 tablets, 3 phones, and a power inverter, management for the fuel cells, powered for everything, and just about anything you could ever imagine. Obviously, we had fire extinguishers, coolers, everything else that you'd need for a long road trip, some beef jerky, and a whole lot of hard candy. But
how did you handle bathroom breaks?
So we had facilities on board for such things, but we ended up not needing them.
Hold on. When you say facilities on board, let's not gloss over this right now.
We had bedpans and urine bottles, but
so those are facilities.
That's right, yeah. But we ended up not requiring them because we, differently than some of the previous runs, we shortened some of the driver legs. So we generally did 250 to 350 miles each with about an 850 mile range. So 2 to 3 stops per fuel tank just on the side of the road where we'd pull over, relieve ourselves, and then switch drivers. And that worked really, really well. It kind of kept us fresh. We recognized that we were a lot faster the first and last 15 minutes of each driving shift because you're trying to hit the averages that you've wanted and trying to obviously get off to a good start. So that worked really well, and so nobody had to pee on the road.
So what kind of telemetry were you running, over the run?
So that's one of the great things. The onboard computers that show you, your average speed, average time driven, and fuel consumption over the last leg and since a restart are great. And that was one of the kind of methods of, unofficial verification that we were excited to have. The plan was to keep the car running the entire time, even through the fuel stop, so we could keep that since start, time clock running. But when it started begging for extra oil, we decided that we didn't want to try to fill through the valve cover with it running. So we ended up turning it off for that. But we used multiple Garmin GPS screens that kind of showed the entire trip, and we had a third-party tracking device that was obviously hard-mounted in the car that they verified all the points where we were throughout the entire trip.
Cool. So can we take a look at what's in there?
Absolutely.
So first of all, hold on, before we open this up. So Cannonball world record, New York to Los Angeles, October 19th through 20th, 2013, 28 hours, 50 minutes. That is just insane. I can't imagine being awake for 28 hours and 50 minutes, much less driving a car at 130 miles an hour.
I did probably 60% of the driving. Dave Black, my co-driver, did the other shares. And we had a guy, Dan Wong, who both of them have been on the development team for VinWiki for our app as well. And so they were all involved, but I think I slept for about 45 minutes in a couple of shifts, but the adrenaline does some powerful things to you.
Wow. I mean, were you getting a little loopy by the end?
The only time, it didn't really occur to me that as you drive due west for over 24 hours, at some point you have to drive straight into the setting sun. And the Cannonball logo is literally a road going into the sun, so I should have thought more about this, but that really took it out, just sears your retinas, and then you go into this really, it's very, very dark with very little external light, even though we did it on a weekend with a full moon. And so just trying to deal with that was a little bit of a formidable thing, but we did okay, and that was the coming down through Ash Fork is a really difficult leg, and that's kind of where I was, and that was the only leg I think we averaged a little bit under 90 miles an hour for a few minutes there.
A Prius could do that, okay?
Right, exactly.
Those are rookie numbers.
That's it. But apart from that, we did all right.
All right, so this is a twin fuel cell.
Yes, we kept the stock 23-gallon cell, and then these are each 22. And then we ran transfer pumps through this, routed up through the filler neck. So I don't have it all plumbed in right now because I don't need that much fuel range. So we cut a hole here and then just routed it right in through a different fuel cap.
Oh, okay, cool. Very nice.
That was a nice, easy way to do it. When we were really treating that run in 2013 as a testing, as a shakedown. And so we really didn't know. We thought it was going to run about a gallon a minute, but it turned out it was about twice that fast. So in testing it on the way north, we overfilled it pretty drastically. So this guy pulled up next to us and, he's like, roll down your window, and he's yelling, "You're leaking gas." We were spraying gas all over him. And so we pulled over and we're ready to, extinguish some kind of a fire, but fortunately there wasn't one. But the car performed beautifully, and it's been good to drive since then. I think I bought it with about 100,000 miles, and we did the run at about 115, and so finished probably 118, and now it's got about 135,000 miles on it now, and I still drive it a good bit.
So this actually has more miles than my SL does, but I think it's also had a little bit of a harder life than my SL.
It's had a very hard life, that's for sure.
So these are just an inline fuel pump. Do these go to the engine, or do these go
they just go into the transfer line to go into the filler neck.
Yeah, so those don't have to be particularly high power.
No, not at all.
Interesting, very interesting. I like that you just have these standard AN fittings, and this is just it's like a polycarbonate or something, or it's like just a plastic.
I think it's just plastic. It's just a fuel bladder from Jegs.
So do you know how much weight you're adding to the car when everything is fully loaded?
About 400 pounds.
About 400 pounds. All right, and the car is already around 4,000 something.
Yeah. So with everything that we had in there and three guys, we were probably pushing 5,500.
5,500. Not bad. Which is good. I mean, it's a CL55. That's what you just put 2 zeros on there. Just to get back into the cars aspect, not just what you did, is the fact that these are pillarless coupes. And you don't like that?
Yeah, because I'll show you why. Now that it's been a little while, it's so slow to drop. And if it that was fast because it's been doing it, but in the winter it won't drop.
Oh.
So when I shut it back, it's always like half open. So I have to drive holding the door for the first.
So I've noticed that these have double pane glass here.
Yeah, the S-Class doesn't.
But the S-Class, the S-Class is supposed to.
Oh, that one doesn't.
It's supposed to.
Yeah, it does.
Do you want to bet?
It's not.
If we can roll down the window, I will bet you money right now. There you go.
Am I going to be proven an idiot?
I don't know. Maybe your S-Class doesn't? Yes, it does.
Yes, it does.
Look at that.
Way to be right.
It's almost, this is super blurry. Let me, there we go. Double pane glass. It's almost like I know what I'm talking about. So I noticed that your pane glass, I think it was suffering a little bit from that problem because here you can see it's kind of like this is coming down. And it's not exactly on the same level, but maybe it's supposed to be like that. I sort of doubt it, though.
I doubt that as well, but however it's laminated together, ought to be pretty robust, I'd imagine.
In any case, my point was when this is down, it looks cool. That's it.
Yeah.
Yes, it looks nice. It looks nice. I don't know about...
Without a rear seat and a baby seat.
Oh, yeah. Well, you got a baby. Was the baby seat there for the run?
No.
Did you have a small driver, a small third driver, just in case?
Dan's not huge, but it's, no, he doesn't require a booster.
I'm sorry, officer. A baby was driving. An infant. Okay, so I'd love to take this thing for a ride. So
You're very welcome to do so.
awesome. Let's do it. All right. So this is real nice. I like this. But right off the bat, I am not as tall as you, so I'm gonna have to move the seat forward.
Welcome.
Welcome. Okay. Rester sys defect. So it's either your restraint system is defective or your restroom system is defective. You said you had a restroom on board, right?
Could be either.
Okay, so it's probably that.
Insufficient information.
Yeah, it's the bedpan's probably busted. So so are these accurate? Do we have fuel level in both tanks or no? Okay.
They default to full, so yeah, those are both empty and not attached.
Okay, I think every fuel tank should always default to full. It's just more optimistic.
That's right.
So right around here, this is a lot more technologically advanced, and it looks a little more expertly installed than
yes,
the
and then the other one, yeah, for sure. So we got the navigation systems, mounts for phones and things like that, and obviously a police scanner, CB radio, plugs for everything, mounts for everything. It's an ambulance traffic light changer.
So is it legal to have a police scanner?
Yeah.
Is it like, do different states have different like laws around
You can't
those?
broadcast on any other frequencies, but you can.
Okay, yeah, obviously you can't like tell cops to go do
He's
something
going
else.
the other way.
Yeah. Okay, so what's this guy right here?
That's the ambulance traffic light changer. It's called a MERT.
Traffic light changer. Wow.
It doesn't work around here, but you press this and it pulses IR pattern.
Wow. Okay, so this is like legitimate James Bond stuff.
Some of it, yeah.
So we have your regular Valentine one, passport,
toll passes.
and you got a sunroof. Oh, look at that!
Right.
You can see the world. So we have down here we have fuel.
That's transfer pumps.
The transfer pumps.
Power to the radar systems.
Radar systems.
Run everything off the batteries. Only.
Battery
If we have the
power.
ignition off. Kill all the rear lights.
Oh, okay. So in case you're running some
Didn't
moonshine.
want to be detected. for
Okay.
such things.
And you
That's
have
the power for one of the laser jamming systems.
And what about these?
Oh, those are dead switches. We kept them in case.
These are the should have worked harder switches.
That's
These are the you wanted the deluxe and you got the Lux.
That's right.
Okay, so I'm gonna put on some AC a little bit just so we don't fry in here. This car is a 04, so they did have the buttons on the back for the shifting.
Correct.
I'm gonna lower the steering wheel right here. I've noticed that right here, I'm not sure if people can see it, but it says Bosch on the this would be the coolant temperature. It's weird why it would just say Bosch. It doesn't say that on any, like all my cars, even the AMGs, it never said Bosch. But right here you see the AMG V8 compressor.
Clear out our error there.
It was a red error. You just cleared out
That's
a red.
right. Well,
You're nuts, man.
Don't count on the airbags today.
Well, I hope we don't have to use them. We have a good seat belt. So I'm going to turn on the ventilated seats, and this car is really cool because you can put ventilated and heating on at the same time to kind of negate them.
Right.
Yeah, I think
Massaging seats too.
we have massaging seats.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, so the massaging seats are down here. You just press this little button. I'm not sure if you guys can see it, but it just says pulse down there. And now I'm getting a slight. It's not real massage.
No.
It's just like somebody very lightly pushing you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like somebody that wants you to move ahead in line when you forgot.
Yes. It's like you're at a concert, but not like a particularly alarming concert. Just like kind of
Symphony.
Excuse me, sir. Yes. So, put it in drive. Let's put it in manual because this does have a what's called a speed shift transmission. You've owned the car. Does this shift quickly?
No.
It does not. This is a very unfortunately named transmission. But we're going to try it anyway because I've never driven a CL. I have a SL, but I wager that it's exactly the same thing and it's probably garbage.
Probably a safe bet.
Yeah. So right off the bat, this is way more powerful and it has way more low-end torque than your other S-Class.
Correct.
This is a little bit more sport-tuned. The ABC Sport is on. I'm not sure if you turned it on, but
It stays on.
it stays on. There we go. That's a sign of a true car, true sports car. It stays in sport mode all the time.
It's also a sign of a sport mode that has no emissions implications.
Yes.
In modern context.
Yes, of course. So
it is amazing how much better the CL drives than the S-Class.
Oh yeah,
I
yeah,
didn't really expect it. Does your SL do the 1800 RPM chirp?
So I was just about to say that. I don't know if you guys can hear this on a camera, but there is a chirp coming from the engine at around 1800 RPMs. My SL did that exact same thing, and it's very, very common. If you go to a Mercedes dealer and you ask them about that, they'll tell you it's normal.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And it sounds like a belt squeaking, which is sort of. It's not.
It's not the supercharger pulley.
It's a supercharger pulley, but it's not the belt. So what it does is it's actually the clutch for the supercharger, because it's a clutched supercharger. So we're going on an on-ramp here, or an off-ramp, and I'm gonna see if I can give it a little bit of go. That's really not bad. I mean, I've never really driven a stock one of these things other than my SL, and it actually feels like it has a little more pickup than the SL. Maybe because it's lighter.
A lot lighter. Right?
Yeah. This, as far as a driver, just as far as a car you can buy, how much do you think that you can buy one of these for in decent shape, one that hasn't done a record-setting run?
Oh, one of these, they 15, 18 grand.
I think you could probably get one for 10.
Oh yeah, but I think a 10 one would need 3 or 4 grand worth of work and deferred maintenance.
Yeah.
I think you could buy one that you didn't have to spend anything on for a year for 15.
That's definitely fair. So probably the nicest one in the world you can get for 20.
Yeah, I found one of these perfect, exactly the same spec with 35,000 miles, and he wanted like 23 or 4 for it.
So we're in third gear. This is effortless. That's crazy. You definitely picked the right car.
Oh, it's great. You know, I thought about a Bentley, and after you get yours running, you'll have to tell me if you think it would have been better.
How about this? When I get mine running, you can go ahead and try a new record on that.
I don't know.
Okay. You can try as many records as you want until the thing breaks down, which is probably not far into the first attempt. Honestly, I think this is much better than any Bentley would be for value-wise. So.
Oh, certainly value-wise. Yeah. But
Let's say you get one of these, the nicest one in the world, for 20 grand, and it's sorted. I mean, it's so much car. How much money was this car when it was brand new?
I think it was 135, 137.
$135,000 for. I mean, this wasn't like bespoke or.
No, it's got extended leather.
Yeah.
It's got keyless go.
Yes.
And
well, this one doesn't. It just has the button for it. Yeah. This one. Let's be completely honest here. This one doesn't.
That's right.
So we have a effective range of 36 miles. So that is a welcome addition. Well, that is definitely what you'd get. You don't get really good gas mileage.
We got 13.6.
That's actually way better than I thought.
I was planning on 11, so I had enough gas to do it at 11 miles a gallon, and we did a little better than that. So we learned early on, after the first, we got like 852 miles on the first tank of gas.
Yeah.
And so we learned that we couldn't drive it hard enough to get bad enough gas mileage for it to matter.
Right.
So we kept pushing hard.
You said you wouldn't sell this car for $1 million, which makes it, in my mind, $1 million car. This is a car that either is priceless or worthless, depending on who you ask.
Absolutely. And I might be the only one that's not worthless too, but I'm comfortable with that.
Well, it's a very good driving car, and it's definitely the only CL55 with these modifications in it. Unless somebody wants to make like an Ed Bolian tribute.
There you go. I asked Mercedes what they would charge me to do all this, when they said they wouldn't do it.
They just hung up on you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you ask Mercedes, can you outfit a car with all this stuff? They'd be like, we want nothing to do with this.
But I asked Aston Martin, and they said they would.
Yeah, but I feel like Aston Martin would say they would, and then when it comes to
3 years later, they'd say, "Oh yeah, we're still about."
When it's like kind of like Jag when it comes to pay the bill. Oh, terribly sorry. I forgot my wallet at home. Yeah, it's actually very well done. I'm thoroughly impressed with this car. So if you sold this car,
better than Alex Roy's M5.
Does it drive better than Alex Roy's M5? Do you want to start a beef right now? I'm not sure that you're ready for that answer. Alex Roy's M5 drives very nice, I'll have you know. This probably has the edge in comfort. Definitely has the edge in comfort, but his M5 has the edge in driver feel. I mean, it's a manual car, and and also, I mean, it lives in New York.
Yeah.
So
it lives a hard life.
Yeah, yeah. This lives a hard life when it's actually used. That lives a hard life every single day.
There you go.
So yeah, it's just apples and oranges, but they're both very nice. They're both very nice. You have a wonderful car.
Well, I'm glad.
Yeah. So I would definitely buy one of these cars if I didn't already have an SL and an S-Class and another S-Class. So I would implore anybody that is looking for a car like this to just go ahead and buy it. I mean, you do have to account for things like the ABC suspension. Those can be really expensive to repair. But if you have, let's say, a few grand in your savings account that you allotted for something like this, then I don't think that it would be too bad of a deal to get one of these for, let's say, 15 grand. Other than the suspension.
Yeah, I mean,
here we go.
It could cost you some money. I mean, because we know that if the ignition switch goes out and you don't go junkyarding for parts.
Well, you should definitely go junkyarding for parts. Yeah,
you should. But depending on someone's ability to do that, I mean, there's a lot of $3,000 parts attached to this car.
So here's my. I'm going to push back just a little bit on this. So let's say you wanted to make the ultimate daily driver CL, right? CL 55. So the engine is basically bulletproof. There's nothing wrong with the engine or transmission. That's safe to say. Let's say you don't want to blow it up with power. You just want to keep it stock. So that's fine. The ABC suspension, you can get rid of that with some coilovers.
How much are those conversions?
So the conversions are around $1,500.
Okay.
1,500. It's reasonable.
That's a very acceptable worst case scenario with your suspension.
Yeah. So you can get a $1,500 conversion. I think they might be $2,000 or something, but you'll never have to worry about that again. The ignition switch, it's very rare that they go. If it's intermittent, then you'll see that problem coming from a mile away.
All right, no surprise.
But it's very rare that it'll just go completely. It does happen. I'm not gonna say it doesn't happen, but it is rare. I've had to replace 2 of them on my S-Class, and it's not anything that a DIY wrencher can't do. It's seriously it's not even a bolt on this. It's literally you take out the panel and it comes out. Other than that, there are still several $1,000s. It's a lot of, but it's a lot of car. Okay,
it's a lot of car.
I think I'm stepping on my foot a little bit, but I think I would buy it.
Oh,
and I think that other people should probably give this a little bit more credit because these things are amazing driving cars. And I mean, I'm sitting in the seat. It's very comfortable, and I feel like I could I feel like I could drive across the country right now. And I kind of feel
pull it up.
I kind of feel like we should.
Absolutely.
I mean, what are you doing tomorrow?
What are you doing for the next 28 hours?
Well, thank you very much, Ed. It was a pleasure. Your car is awesome, and yeah, I hope everybody checks out your channel, VinWiki, and buys one of those shirts. I definitely will. All right, dude. Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, guys. That was so much fun, but it is the end of the video, and I hope you guys liked it. So if you did, hit that subscribe button, hit the bell for the notifications, and yeah, check out Ed's channel, Ed Bolian's channel, VinWiki. That thing right there. It is awesome. He does a lot of really interesting car stories, and I am actually going to be in some car stories, so look out for that. I had a lot of fun. But if you'd like to contact me, you can do so at The Real Tavarish. That is Instagram and Twitter. Facebook.com/AskTavarish and AskTavarish@gmail.com is my email, and I read every single one. And I love talking with you guys about, you know, whatever tips and tricks you have for my cars and well wishes and what I'm doing wrong. So yeah, just keep them coming. If you'd like to order a shirt, these shirts that say I am the warranty, then you can do so at my Teespring store down below. Every single dollar I make from these shirts goes directly to charity at the end of every month. So it goes to a good cause and you get a cool shirt. At least I think so. But this is me telling you that on cars like Ed's awesome CL55 AMG, you guys need to wrench every day.